The Chicago Bears had to take risks on both sides of the ball to try and beat the Green Bay Packers. And in the end, the gambles just didn't quite pay off.
You are Locked On Bears, your daily Chicago Bears podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On Bears, and I'm your host, Lauren Cox. I'm here to bring you your daily, in-depth Chicago Bears news and analysis. You can follow me on Twitter at CoxSports1, and you can follow the podcast at Locked On Bears on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and the Locked On Bears YouTube channel, where you can keep up with all of our video podcasts as well. Thanks for making Locked On Bears your first listen today, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, if you want to be in the middle of the action this season, you can visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. On the show today, we recap the Bears' loss to the Green Bay Packers and where the Bears absolutely lived by the big plays on both sides of the ball and died by the big plays on both sides of the ball. And in a game as tight as a matchup with the Green Bay Packers, the margin of error is really small. And the Bears were just one too many mistakes away from being able to win this game. And it goes far beyond just the late interception that ended it for Chicago, but really sprinkled in all throughout this game. So we'll take a look at Caleb's performance and that last throw, but really the bigger picture throws we saw him have all across the day. And same thing for this Bears defense that was put in some really tough spots. And it's sort of a pick your poison situation, and they just couldn't quite hold Green Bay down quite enough. But we'll wrap up looking at some other positives you can take away in spite of this loss, where the team does still keep making progress as we get a little bit later and later into the season. But we know everyone's going to come out of this game talking about Caleb Williams' last throw, the interception in the end zone, trying to hit Cole Kmet. And I don't want to downplay or overlook or ignore the fact that that's a bad throw. It's a missed throw by Caleb Williams, one that he needs to throw better. He needs to put in a better spot. He said after the game, he thought rather than, because it was fourth down, right, rather than try and lead him with the perfect ball, maybe just kind of throw up a ball that he'd have a shot at in the end zone in that situation. And we'll talk a little bit more specifically about the play. But to me, that throw is an underthrown and otherwise inaccurate ball. I don't think it was a misread coverage. And I dare I say, I don't think it was a horrible decision per se, only because I think if he puts that ball in the back corner of the end zone in the right spot, it's a Cole Kmet touchdown, and none of this is a problem, right? I think the biggest issue there is the accuracy and on that throw and not putting the ball anywhere near where it needed to be. From there, you can talk about, okay, well, should he have been able to see DJ Moore coming across the middle? He's third in the progression. He's flushed out to his left. It's 4th and 1. He sees a tight end who, in theory, should be open for a touchdown there. I'm not necessarily going to hate Caleb for throwing to a receiver that is open, right? Again, it's not so much the decision, right? It's the placement of the ball, and that he didn't. If he just throws the right ball to Kmet, no one worries that he didn't throw it to DJ Moore, who's also kind of late coming across there. It would have been tough for him to see it and turn and make that play. But I also don't think that one play should be how we evaluate Caleb Williams' overall performance in that game. That was a bad throw. That was a miss at the biggest time. And it's really one of the first times we've ever seen Caleb make that kind of mistake in a clutch moment where he has been so consistent. And that's maybe a broader theme to explore moving forward here. But bigger picture in this game, he started out 0 for 5 on his first 5 throws, was missing some throws high early in the game and just couldn't get into that rhythm right away, and then still found a way to get there as the game went on. I'm not going to be here to say, well, if you take away those first 5 misses, but if you take away those first 5 misses, his completion percentage all of a sudden is a lot higher, right? I mean, the point being, after that slow start, he was a lot more consistent from then on out, right? It wasn't it was inaccurate passing all game long. Still missed plenty of throws in this game, but was also under pressure a ton, especially early in that game, getting flushed out of the pocket. I know they flashed a graphic on the screen in the Fox broadcast, and I don't have a timestamp on it, but about just how often Caleb Williams was under pressure early in that game. And I wrote it down in my notes somewhere, and I'm trying to find it as I'm talking to you right now. And it's coming in just this first 9 dropbacks. Here we go. It was in the second quarter, and so I think it was the Bears' first drive of the second quarter. He had 9 dropbacks. He was under pressure on 5 of them up to that point. He was running for his life a lot. And a lot of that pressure coming off the right side of the Bears' offensive line. He was getting out of the pocket. He was throwing it away a ton. And it wasn't really until like the second half that you saw him, once he's out of the pocket, hitting some miraculous throws downfield. An exceptional ball to Cole Kmet up the right sideline. A really nice scramble drill route to Devin Duvernay, of all people, working across the formation. A couple of nice plays to Luther Burden in this game. Like, he made a handful of really impressive positive throws. And then you get the one bad interception, and then a handful of like other inaccurate passes off the top of my head, having watched it. But like, this was not to me like a bad Caleb Williams game. It was a bad Caleb Williams finish, and maybe a slow Caleb Williams start for sure. But like quarters 2 through the first half of the fourth quarter, or most of the fourth quarter till the final throw, like, he was pretty dialed in and making some nice throws for this Bears offense. And like the struggles, the slow start came without much of a running game. Bears' first 6 plays, 5 were passes and 1 was a run, and they were 0 for 5 on those passes, and they were 3 and out on those first couple drives. Like, the Bears were kind of slow to get to the running game, and so it was all on Caleb's shoulders to try and, get into a rhythm and make some plays there, and it just wasn't happening early in there. And then once they started running the ball in the second quarter, lo and behold, it makes his life that much easier. The offense is rolling. They get points on the board, and it looks kind of more like the Bears offense we were expecting, but it took them a quarter and a half to really kind of stick with that running game and get back to it. And then, they go to a bunch of play action, and it feels like the pass rush starts to slow down a little bit as the defense gets worn down a little bit. They still got some pressure on Caleb a little too consistently throughout the game, but you could feel like, hey, this offense was getting back to looking more like the Chicago Bears offense, and that's without their number 1 wide receiver, Rome Odunze. I don't necessarily know that having Rome is the difference between winning and losing this game, but still, it certainly makes the Bears a better team when Rome Odunze is out there getting open. I think of it more like, when Caleb Williams was throwing the ball away a lot when no one's open downfield, maybe if Rome was there, he's open in those moments when no one else is open, but we can't really hypothetically say. I don't think if you put in Rome Odunze for a couple of the catches that Olamide Zaccheaus made or whoever, that the Bears all of a sudden winning the game if he's making those catches, I mean, probably not, but it certainly would have made a big difference. Same with some of the injuries on defense, but I didn't leave this game feeling like injuries were a valid excuse or explanation for the offensive struggles at times or the defensive struggles at times, but certainly being a little bit healthier even could have been a positive boost, but not like the void that was the missing piece that caused the Bears this game. I mean, it just felt to me like just a low margin of error game where Packers are good, Bears are good too, and it's back and forth, and every little mistake gets magnified. And so a penalty here, a miscommunication there, a quick blitz pressure here, and an underthrown ball in the end zone. It's like there's a handful of plays throughout this game. You change any one of them, and it's probably a different result. But all we're going to think about and all we're going to talk about is the play in the end zone, because Caleb Williams is going for the big play. And that's when Caleb gets out of the pocket, right? He's making those big plays, and you get the impressive play after impressive play after impressive play. And then like the one bad one does them in, and in the moment feels like it undoes all of the good he had built up to that point. But I hope we have enough, wisdom and can take a deep breath to say, hey, like, he did a lot of good things in this game too, and one throw doesn't outweigh the previous, 34 throws he had made in that game. So I think we can be upset and unhappy with the final throw and not say, oh, all of a sudden that ruined what Caleb Williams and the Bears offense was able to do in the game. They still needed better for sure, but it wasn't like they were bad. It was just not good enough. And I think the same thing is true for this Bears defense. Like, not a horrible game by them by any means, but not good enough in some key situations. And I think Dennis Allen, like Caleb Williams, was in between a rock and a hard place where you kind of got to take some risks in a matchup like this, and some of them paid off and some of them didn't. So we'll take a look at what this Bears defense did and wasn't able to do against Jordan Love and the Packers next on Locked On Bears. This episode of Locked On Bears is brought to you by Aura Frames. The holidays are officially here, which means it's gift hunting season. And if you want something meaningful, personal, and guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura Frames is the gift that delivers every time. It's not just something you wrap. It's a way to share memories because Aura isn't your average picture frame. You can preload the frame with photos before you even gift it. So when that loved one plugs it in, the memories are already there. Then they don't have to figure out an app right in that moment and have any of those headaches trying to set things up. Just instant smiles. I think it's great for grandparents, parents of any kinds. Even I'm an uncle, and I would love to have constant updates of pictures of my little niece because she grows a little bit bigger every single time that I see her. Anyone who loves photos is a great recipient of an Aura Frames with endless uploads of pictures and even 30-second videos you can throw in there with a personalized message right inside the frame so the gift feels thoughtful the moment it's opened. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter. Just use our promo code LOCKEDON at checkout. That's Aura Frames, A-U-R-A, auraframes.com, promo code Locked On. This deal is exclusive to our listeners, and frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. This Bears defense did a lot of good things against Jordan Love and the Packers, but there were too many flaws, mistakes, errors that Dennis Allen was in a tough position to try and prevent. And I felt like he especially was kind of in some lose-lose spots on defense that, still deserves credit for getting a turnover, holding Green Bay to 28, keeping your offense in the game even when things are kind of slow rolling from the get-go. But again, still not quite enough. You do want to hold teams under 28. You hope that your offense can beat 28, but you do want to hold teams under 28. And I think Allen in particular was put in some kind of impossible situations to solve with the combination of injuries / weaknesses on defense and what Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love and the Packers do really well. I think this was most encapsulated by the pass rush question, if you will, the pass rush issue in there, that we know this Bears pass rush is not good enough by itself. The four-man rush of whatever combination of defensive linemen have not been able to consistently pressure really any quarterbacks this season, especially since Dio Dengbo's been on injured reserve. And so if the Bears wanted to just rush four, Jordan Love was having plenty of time to sit in a clean pocket, wait for something to develop, and throw it downfield. There were big gash plays at times when the Bears rushed four, and he had plenty of time to throw. So, okay, you don't want to give him a bunch of time to throw because you can't just rush four. Let's blitz him then. Well, Jordan Love's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL this season statistically against the blitz. He has been really good at reading it, dissecting it, getting the ball out, and even big plays downfield, not just little quick checkdowns. And so it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you blitz him, well, he's really good at beating your blitz. But if you don't blitz him, he's going to sit in the pocket all day and carve up your defense. So pick your poison, right? What are you going to do? That's what I talk about with there being risks that Dennis Allen has to take on okay, when do you blitz? And what coverage do you call behind that blitz? Because you can't just sit in four-man rush all day. That was clearly not going to work. But can you time up the right blitz at the right time to get the pressure and force the throwaway? Or, I think hopefully, ideally, get a sack in there, which proved to be a little bit more troublesome. I think they brought him down once. Montez Sweat, got his kind of one sack per game, memo that he finds a way to make the one play, but it's just not consistent enough pressure from the group overall. And so sometimes you got the pressure and sometimes you got Christian Watson one-on-one with the receiver in the end zone for a touchdown. And it's when he's blowing by, Jaquan Brisker or he's blowing by CJ Gardner-Johnson, and there were a couple different plays where Byard was trying to cover him one-on-one, and it's like, well, why are you leaving those guys in one-on-one man coverage against him? You should be sitting back in zone. Okay, so you're gonna sit back in zone and rush forward and let him carve up your defense. Like, you can't. There's not a good solution there for Dennis Allen. So I empathize with the challenge he had, especially because, well, this defense is getting healthier. They are not healthy yet. When you look back at this game, the Jalen Johnson played and started, but he was only on the field for little over half of the snaps on defense. He was splitting time with Nick McLeod. He's not 100% healthy, and he looks a step slow out there. Like, he's playing, he's starting, but he's not Pro Bowl Jalen Johnson out there. And TJ Edwards makes his return after missing 3 games or whatever. And he starts, and he plays about half the snaps. And, Eamon Ogbongbemiga is playing a bunch of snaps in this game. And DeMarco Jackson played every snap on defense. Like, you've got guys back, but they're not playing the full game when they're not 100% when they're out there. And Kyler Gordon is supposed to be back, tweaks his groin in the pregame. He's not out there. And CJ Gardner-Johnson misses a handful of tackles in this game and gets burned in coverage. And it's not all his fault. He's not the boogeyman there. He led the team in tackles, was making some plays, got the big interception on Jordan Love in the first half. Like, I'm not here to just throw CJ Gardner-Johnson under the bus by any means, but it just kind of felt like there were some real challenges here across the board that made Dennis Allen's job more difficult. And so, yes, 28 points is still more than you want to give up, but I thought the defense generally did some nice things there. And I think the interesting thing for me was that, the Packers were beating them in ways that didn't even necessarily feel fully connected to the Bears' weaknesses. Like, what I was worried about in this game was Matt LaFleur attacking those injured Bears linebackers and attacking your backup cornerbacks on the outside. I thought they'd throw at Nick McLeod all game, throw at DeMarco Jackson all game, and try and have your weakest players make mistakes. But Nick McLeod has a nice pass breakup that Packers fans probably wanted a flag on, but it was at worst borderline. I mean, you could argue either way on that, but wasn't called. Like, Nick McLeod was not a massive liability in this game the way he had been in other games. And the Packers didn't really attack these Bears linebackers all that much. Like, when you think back to the touchdowns and the players who were out of position on some of the big plays, it was starting free safety Kevin Byard getting smoked on one of those plays. It was Jaquan Brisker trying to run over and catch up to, was that Watson on that play, or was it Melton? I don't remember. But Tom Brady did a good job pointing out that Jalen Johnson was supposed to be back there in a disguised coverage. But I can hear the argument of well, why is Dennis Allen asking Jalen Johnson to play a safety coverage in cover 2 when he's always trying to play cornerback, and he's not a safety, so why are you asking him to play that role? And again, it's sort of this boom or bust idea of you got to try something to try and confuse Jordan Love and try and make the defense look different to Jordan Love, and it doesn't work on that play. And, it works on the CJ Gardner-Johnson interception, right? It works when you blitz and you get home on a sack, but it doesn't work on the plays when you give him a touchdown, and that's the kind of the boom and the bust, the all or the nothing that the Bears kind of had to live or die by in this game. But the point being, it's starters. The guys who were supposed to be reliable were the ones that ended up being on the bad end of some of the big plays for the Packers defense, as opposed to the guys who you were worried about, like McLeod, like DeMarco Jackson, like Eamon Ogbongbemiga when he's out there, right? That's kind of the one thing that I'm stuck with. I guess CJ Gardner-Johnson's technically a backup, and he got burned on that slant route, but it's a tough spot to cover really fast receiver over the middle of the field on a slant. I don't know if Kyler Gordon plays the game. I'm not sure that he's preventing a big play there. Maybe he prevents a touchdown versus field goal. And that's the one thing I come away with this Bears defense. 0 field goals attempted by the Green Bay Packers. You got the 1 turnover, but if you had taken any of those touchdown drives and made them 3 instead of 7, that's such a big difference in this game, because then all of a sudden late in the game, right, the Bears could tie it with a field goal and don't have to throw for the end. I mean, a lot of ripple effects there of why I kind of talk about, we'll talk all about Caleb's interception being the deciding factor, but any of a dozen plays earlier in the game, you tackled Josh Jacobs on that 3rd down run where he runs through Sweat and Dexter and DeMarco Jackson and I think CJ Gardner-Johnson. There 4 Bears that all missed him on that 3rd down that he punches through. You stop him there, you hold him to a field goal instead of a drive that was a touchdown, changes the result of this game. There's so many of those moments across the way that, yes, We put it all on Caleb's shoulders because he's got to be Superman, and he wasn't. But boy, there were 10 or 12 times earlier in this game when, one play goes different there. They pick up a block on Micah Parsons here. They tackle Jordan Love there. They tackle Josh Jacobs there. They pass off the coverage correctly on one. So many different opportunities that this game could have gone differently. And that tells you just how close the Bears and the Packers are right now. And that's kind of where I want to turn this conversation is like, this was a tough loss. And I'm not here to pretend like, everything is fine and dandy and that you should actually be happy or whatever. But like, I think there's a lot of positives we can take from this game. So I want to go through some of the little things that stand out as like, hey, Bears lost, but they're making some real progress here that you can be encouraged about, especially with, some really key games coming up here late in the schedule. That's next on Locked On Bears. This episode of Locked On Bears is brought to you by Gametime. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994, and with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part, and that's why the Gametime app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. I'm being 100% real with you. I got World Cup tickets on the Gametime app. Me and my friend, right before the draw, we got tickets in Atlanta. We didn't know what two teams were going to be. We wanted to get some nice cheap tickets we could find to go to a World Cup game in the U.S. Turns out we're going to be seeing Spain and Saudi Arabia. It's going to be a great game. But with Gametime, we could track the prices and get alerts as great seats opened, and really felt like it was putting the power back in my hands. They got all-in pricing, so you don't have any last-second surprises at checkout. All the fees are upfront, so you know exactly what you're paying, and the seat view is a game changer where you can literally see what the pitch looks like from your seat before you buy it. So take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets or any tickets, every match, concert, or event with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, and use that code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Swipe, tap, ticket, go, Gametime. The Locked On Bears podcast is also brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. NFL Sundays move fast, especially this one, with one big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting, because you're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. And live betting is the best when the game starts to shift. A quarterback gets hot, a defense tightens up, or momentum flips after a big turnover. And FanDuel lets you jump right into the moment. They've got live spreads and money lines that adjust automatically. Player pops update as guys heat up. Like if you look ahead to next week's Bears-Browns games, the Bears are 7.5-point favorites right now at home. But maybe if the Bears start slow, that line moves down. You can jump in on it and win big just by knowing your team better than everyone else. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your live NFL bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. So yes, the Bears lost, and it sucks. And losing to the Packers is the worst team to lose to, right? I mean, like I think I'd rather lose to the Browns on Sunday than lose to the Packers on Sunday, but that's not the point, right? I'm not here to say that, you should actually be happy about the loss. But I also think it's a game that there's a lot to like from what you saw from Chicago. And that doesn't excuse that they lost, doesn't excuse the mistakes they made, the poor moments, the slow start, the rough finish. But I also think we can leave this game not feeling like, oh, they're frauds and everything they were doing well has been completely undone. Like, no, they're still 9-4. They're still in the playoffs. So they dropped from the 1 seed to the 7 seed, which is crazy with how the NFC stands right now. But like even, bigger picture, or I guess not even bigger picture, like smaller picture, fine tune into the game. Things that happen in this game that I think are real positives you can take away in spite of the loss. I think, first of all, fewer penalties. The Bears were much less impacted by penalty flags on themselves than we've seen in, dare I say, most games this season. They were flagged 4 times, but it was for a total of 17 yards. When they had their own penalties, they were I don't want to say well-timed, right? Because is there such thing as a penalty on you? There's never a good time for one. But there was a holding penalty on Darnell Wright on the first drive of the game that undid things. Okay, that's a problem. Second drive of the game, false start on Colston Loveland after the drop pass that was nearly a fumble. And those were 15 of your penalty yards there on the first two drives. From there, it was a 1-yard Austin Booker neutral zone infraction. And I don't have the fourth penalty in my notes, but the official stat sheet says 4 penalties for 17 yards. So it was another 1-yard penalty somewhere in there. But like largely inconsequential penalties that did not particularly hold the Chicago Bears back. You could say those first two drives held them back, but like Caleb had overthrown a couple of receivers on those drives anyway, right? Like there was quick pressure on the second drive that Micah Parsons was right in his face. Like things were going wrong besides the penalties on those drives. Like, I'm not trying to say, oh, those penalties were not a problem, but like we've seen penalties be a much bigger problem than they were. And it feels like as a team, they're cleaning that up more and more each and every week. I also think another big thing in this game, they got a turnover on Jordan Love. Like they find a way to get a turnover on anybody. And sure, you would have liked 2 turnovers or 3 turnovers, right? But like they've now gone 6 straight games generating a turnover. Like it feels like no matter how well the opposing quarterback takes care of the ball or how well the other team doesn't turn the ball over, they will consistently find a way to get you at least one. And like that's all you can ask for. In a 0 turnover game, you can say, hey, defense, you got to do a little bit more. If they get you one, that's got to be the bare minimum. You'd love more, but a defense can't get 3 picks every game. It's just not realistic in the modern NFL. But like to still get one on Jordan Love was a good key stop, because if they don't get the interception on that drive and that one finishes as a touchdown, like all of a sudden you're down, 21-3 at halftime instead of 14-3 at halftime, and it's a whole different ball game. So the defense's ability to still consistently find ways to generate turnovers is a real thing. I also thought, like we talked about this briefly, but like the fact that Rome Odunze's absence didn't derail this Bears offense is a positive we can take away, especially because all the Twitter doctors are telling us it might be a multi-week thing, a stress fracture type of thing in the foot that could be as many as like 3 weeks type of, like, we don't know if Rome will play in the next Packers game, let alone the next Bears game here. And yet, despite that, Luther Burden stepped up and made some big plays in this game. Cole Kmet had a huge play on the sideline, kind of more involved in the offense than we've seen in some other recent weeks. Heck, even Devin Duvernay makes an explosive catch, a 24-yard catch. And he's not making yards after the catch there, but just, hey, he held on to the ball. Caleb found him. He held on to the ball. Like, that's all it takes. Like, it speaks to Ben Johnson's ability to scheme, Caleb Williams' ability to create plays and get plays, make plays out of the pocket, and, wide receiver coach Antoine Mandel's ability to, like, have these guys know where to go and catch the ball and hold on to it when the ball gets to them. Like, again, not trying to downplay that having Rome would have been a big deal, but like they found ways to make it work without Odunze in a way that wasn't like, oh, this passing game can't do anything because Rome Odunze is not out there. It was like, no, they found ways to overcome. And I think that was a really important thing to just kind of like see them push through that and feel like, they still couldn't, like they didn't get that much from DJ Moore either. And they still got things rolling on offense. Like that's really encouraging for me. And like maybe included in the same category is just like there were a number of key moments here where the Bears needed a 3rd down conversion or a 4th down conversion. And aside from the last interception, and we can even caveat that here, like Ben Johnson had plays. And yes, we've seen him have plays all season, but there have been a couple of times when the Bears get stopped in a key situation. But like Ben Johnson consistently found ways to move the chains when the Bears needed it. And even that last play to Cole Kmet, the interception in the end zone, like there were open receivers on that play. Like Ben Johnson had players open. And for everyone who points out like, oh, it's the same play they ran in the last play of the Eagles, why is he running the same play again? Different formation, different personnel. So it wasn't like before the snap, the Packers could know exactly what play was coming. Like the routes were the same for the quarterback to see, but different players, Kmet was running the same route, but otherwise like different players taking different paths to get to the same spots is not that easy for a defense to see and feel coming in that same way. So I don't really fault Ben Johnson too much there. Some other quick hitters though. I thought DeMarco Jackson, the backup linebacker, who played every snap on defense in this game, I thought he played pretty well. Again, like not future starter well, but like for a guy thrown out there cold off the bench a couple weeks ago, that was a backup through and through. He's doing just fine. And like Nick McLeod didn't screw it up that's a big positive from this game. Montez Sweat added another sack. I know like we would like more consistent down-to-down pressure, but like he's approaching double-digit sacks. Like that's what you traded for. That's what you paid him for. Like I still need better from Montez Sweat, but like it's not that he's doing nothing. That there's progress there. I thought Ozzie Trapillo held up pretty well in pass protection. They kept Micah Parsons on the right side of the offensive line, and there were some troubles there with Jonah Jackson and even Darnell Wright at times. But like, and I didn't think Trapillo run blocked particularly well. That left side continues to be a weakness there. But like pass protection, he wasn't some turnstile that was attacking Caleb's blind side over and over. That for sure was how I felt about this game. And maybe the thing you can take home with you even most is like, hey, you get a shot at redemption in 2 weeks. You don't got to wait a month or, if this was early in the season, 2 months or 3 months to get the Packers again. You got a get-right game against the Browns, and then you get another shot at Green Bay. Meanwhile, they're going to go get beat up in Denver. Not necessarily lose, but, have a fist fight in Denver and come back to Chicago trying to get another win there. So this sting doesn't have to last too long. They'll have their shot at revenge back home in 2 weeks, and we'll be right here to break it down for you right here on the Locked On Bears podcast. So make sure you hit the subscribe button on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. That's going to be the best way to keep up with all of our daily in-depth Chicago Bears news and analysis. And if you want to take it up a level and go ad-free, for example, you can join the Locked On Bears Everydayers Club and get Locked On Bears with no interruptions, plus a members-only Discord and more. It's all just for $5 a month or $50 a year. So if you want to sign up for the Locked On Bears Everydayers Club, you can go to lockedonpodcasts.com/everydayer club, or you can go to lockedonbears.supercast.com to sign up. It's for all the Locked On Bears diehards out there and get that all access pass. You can also find the link in the show notes. But hey, we'll be back tomorrow to break down more of this Bears-Packers game and pretty soon get you ready for Bears-Browns. And I hope each time you tune in, you get another opportunity to bear down.